place, possibly, but no, not for now. Drummond just sits there in 6th position, but all the while they're squabbling, look at what's happening in front. Badima, Ense, all clearing off into the distance. They're nowhere to be seen.
It's hard to overstate how difficult this is. Just driving around in these conditions at this speed is impressive in itself. Whilst trying to race each other, this is where these guys earn their reputation. So the Boutelet now are focusing on him in the BMW P7 in the pack, and there's Drummond as well. A bit slow off the exit is Paul Ura. Drummond's now putting alongside Will. He has to get by the Boutelet. He's going to push his fellow countryman through there, up into P5 and P6. Go BMW and Subaru. Up the inside goes Thomas the Boutelet. No, he thinks better of it, but now still holding the place, but no, Paul Ura hanging on the outside somehow in that Mazda. Has to back out of it finally, but that was great to working together there by the Boutelet and Drummond, but maybe the stewards will have a look at that.
It's allowed Serrano an opportunity to go through up into 7th place there, so Ura has just lost out a little bit whilst they were going side by side into that braking zone of turn 3. I tell you what, I wince every time we go into there because it just takes one locked brake, and these drivers don't run ABS, so once that's braking, you're going straight off to the scene of the crash.
I'm waiting for that one guy to just come flying across the inside of the picture there, out of control, wiping somebody out. Hopefully it won't happen, but of course it can happen. So still here onto lap 3 there. Badima and Hensei there, really not separated by much. Very, very quick in these wet conditions are the Ferrari and the Hensei. 3.5 seconds back is Fenton. So these guys seemingly the ones to beat at the moment.
Lap times in the high 138s for the two leaders. We expect the crossover time, by the way, to go on to intermediate tyres about 137 there and thereabouts. You can see Badima with that big old slide in that Ferrari 458 as he came through the right-hander. But that's the crossover time. Rain is still coming down as it stands for now, so just keep an eye on the weather conditions. If it starts to dry out, when the times get down into the 1 minute 37s, that's when we should see drivers thinking about boxing for inters.
Yeah, I'd love to take a look at the weather radar, of course a feature in Gran Turismo 7 to see sort of what's coming and what's happening there, but wipers still on for now. Rain is still falling for now, so we'll keep an eye on that and see if things get any better. But we have to T1 again. Badima stretching his legs a little bit. The gap now up to 1.2 seconds, but it seems a little bit weak through T1. That's where Hensei comes back at him. There's a replay. Here's what happened here between Jose Serrano and the Boutelet. Going down towards T4. Heavy on the brakes. Contact there. Oh, and off goes Serrano. He spins. Oh, what a shame there for Jose Serrano after such a strong showing at the Montreal round.
Yeah, a bit of a hand-fisted attempt there for the Spaniard, I'm afraid to say, as he went into the braking zone of turn 4. Le Boutelet moved right on board with him and Drummond, all out of shape there, and then contact spins round Drummond. Oh, Killian, what on earth is going on with your 2024 season? He made a mistake in the Nations Cup, if you remember, back in Montreal, and it goes from bad to worse for him. He must have walked under a stepladder or, I don't know, something along the lines of that. You know, it's in a black cat or something today, because it's just not working out at all.
I love to see a replay of that, but I think like the Boutelet was quite heavily involved in that incident there, but we'll comment on that when we see more. For now, there you go, the stewards having a look at that. We have live stewards here at the event, straight into the action, straight into the investigation, and we'll get back to you as soon as we know more. But that does put, as you say, Killian Drummond in the back of the pack, and Coque Lopez will be happy with that because he's getting a different place out of it, but not moving forward. Someone who is moving forward is Estevez for Honda, up to P7 right now after starting from the back of the grid. So great racing so far from Estevez. Can he continue?
We have a look at the weather radar in our commentary box, and there's a little bit of a break in the weather we can see coming along the way in a few moments' time. So if that does start to ease off ever so slightly, we'll keep an eye on things and see what happens. There is Nico Romero driving for Genesis. As I mentioned earlier on, Genesis podium for them in the World Finals at the back end of 2023 in Barcelona. Can they repeat that feat over the course of this year? Just to remind you, as we now see the weather radar, you can see there heavy rain at the moment, but it is going to start to break a little bit later on in this one. So if that does happen, or when that does happen I should say, then we'll see drivers changing their strategy and thinking on the fly.
I love that we have that in the game. In real life, the weather radar is something you just don't want to look at, especially if you're in the grid. But anyway, here is a replay of what happened between Drummond and the Boutelet. So we're coming down to T4 there. A bit of contact on the way in. Is it something? No, he loses it on his own. No, he doesn't. He almost does. Yeah, and the contact there with the Boutelet just spins him around, but you can see all the way in, really struggling with the rear of that Subaru, sorry. So I think that maybe that car just not quite the right car to be in these conditions, but still he'll do well to come back from this Drummond, but back of the field for now.
Unfortunate there for Killian as he sits down at the back of the field in 12th position for now. There is Ense. Tell you what, he's keeping Badima honest, actually, isn't he, over the course of this first few laps in both of their first races in the Gran Turismo World Series. They're driving like they've been here for a fair amount of time. You can see 4.2 seconds there and thereabouts over some parts of this lap that they put into Daniel Fenton, who sits in third place. You can see Labuschagne getting a 3-second penalty for that collision with Kylian Drumont. Well, we wondered the stewards might have a look at it, and they have, and they've decided to hit Labuschagne with a 3-second penalty, which is going to drop him down to about 10th place there and thereabouts once he served it.
I mean, yeah, it was fair. He spun Drumont, ended his race pretty much, so yeah, penalty there I think is fair in that situation. So meanwhile, in the mid-back, Paul Euro will be the first person to gain from Labuschagne's penalty. You can see that 3 seconds above the top of his car there. As it comes to the penalty zone, he will be forced to brake for 3 seconds, so you lose a lot more than that in reality. And then, of course, the time getting back up to speed again is massive, especially given around here a lot of high-speed acceleration zones. But on board with Paul Euro, looking a little bit flustered, I think, at the moment. Not looking like he's very comfy. That Mazda proving difficult in these conditions so far. Almost collects the back of Labuschagné there and picks up his own penalty. But we've seen a lot of drivers doing that, just sort of being off the corner, trying to avoid too much rotation, trying to get all in one hit and accelerate in one straight line instead of accelerating with one block, because that's the usual way of just getting traction that way. Just what Estevez a little bit closer in that Honda there as well. That Honda's not been particularly fast actually so far this week, especially in these wet conditions. You can see Estevez struggling with the traction as he comes out of turn 4. I mean, Estevez's lap times, if you look at it, he's matching the leader pretty much at the moment, so he's really quick as Estevez. So keep an eye on him. Well, we did say he'd come back through the field, didn't we? And here he comes now in that Honda in P7. I'd say the rear engine cars, the mid engine cars, having a bit of a better time at the moment than the front engine cars.
Oh, snap of oversteer there for Euro as you saw him just coming through that right hand of his Labuschagne. 7th penalty moves off of the racing line. Such closing speed they have as Labuschagne going to emerge at 7th place, a little bit higher up the order than I thought. Penko and Romero also under investigation for a collision as well. They're in 8th and 9th place, Romero and Penko respectively at the moment. Out of the final turn we go, and across the timeline. So it's all pretty quiet on the Western front as it stands for now, but it's going to bubble up a little bit later. Where are we at in terms of lap times? We're still in the low 138s at the moment, so we're not close enough for a changeover. The rain is still falling down, but at a lighter intensity than it was. Let's have a look and see if we can work out what happened here with Romero and Penko into turn 4, downhill on the braking, Penko on the inside, bit of contact there with Romero. I don't think that cost them too much, really.
That's all right, it's racing that one. That's right. I say that, and the stewards are going to say it isn't that. Well, no further fraction. There you go. Finally, I've got one right after all this time. It's taken 8 years, how long it's been. Oh, Lopez there, forgetting that it's the pedal on the left that slows you down. Well, you've got a clutch, I guess, but slows you down too. And back down to 12th place. He goes behind Kylian Drumont. Coque Lopez is struggling big time in that Lexus.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to try and launch an attack immediately on Kylian Drumont and get himself ahead. Down into the braking zone we go. Closes right up on the back of the Subaru, and it's just not working out at all here for Coque Lopez. He doesn't look comfortable. Look at the way he's driving. Look at his driving position as well. He looks tense in his shoulders, doesn't he? You can see him fighting the car, scrabbling for grip and trying to find performance that just doesn't seem to be there for the Spaniard.
Yeah, it's important in wet conditions to sort of let the car move a little bit. If you're trying to put in these really big aggressive inputs, that's when the car has the biggest issue. It looks like he's sliding through this midsection here. So we have to hope, for Coque's sake anyway, the weather does lighten up a little bit. Again, our weather radar suggesting that the rain is still coming down pretty decently at the moment. So we're a long way left in this race, lap 8 of 28 as Padima comes across to start lap 8. And here is a replay there of Coque Lopez. So this is going to be quite scary on board if you're Coque Lopez. You hit the brake pedal. Nothing's happening. They've got to get out of the way. Oh, you can imagine just a feeling there of, am I about to wipe something out? No? Okay, but I am now last.
Yeah, that would be literally like around his nose, wasn't it? Unfortunate there for Coque Lopez, and just about managing to avoid contact into turn 3. Now Serrano versus Drumont. Drumont starting to come together in this race. 8th lap out of 28 we are on here in the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final. Euro versus Estevez a bit further up the road. Estevez now finding that pace. He got ahead of Labuschagne a couple of laps ago. Now his next target is going to be the Spaniard. So out of turn 3 and into turn 4 could be the opportunity that the Honda driver is looking for as he makes his recovery through the field following the difficult qualifying. Side by side we run. Estevez is going to be on the outside into the downhill braking zone. There's a bit of hip and shoulder and a bit of contact. That's going to run Estevez a little bit wide, but can he find traction on the exit of the corner to get ahead of Euro? Side by side they go through into onto the next left-hander. Estevez is going to have track position here if he can just firm it on the inside, but has he got the grip there to get ahead of Jura? No, Jura sweeps around the outside and holds on to 5th place.
What an impressive drive so far by Estevez. This guy started in P11 and is up to P6 and challenging Paul Jura in P5. I think he's got the pace to get by, but Paul Jura, very experienced in Gran Turismo 7, just putting the car in the right places right now, but the pace isn't there for him. It's just a matter of time, I think.
Tremont just losing a position there to Jose Serrano for 10th position as well. On board we ride here with Thomas Laboutelet. Pole position for BMW back in Amsterdam. That seemed like ever such a long time ago, no? There's a bit of contact, isn't there, going through that final corner. Estevez now under a bit of pressure. Meanwhile, Laboutelet versus Estevez. As we come across the timing line to be in lap 9, Laboutelet with the inside line with track position, with the grip under braking, but does he want to get ahead of Estevez, or does he want to leave himself open to the opportunity into turn 3? Estevez runs to the curb on the outside. Laboutelet's going to try and pick up his slipstream here on the exit of turn 1, and then running for a move shortly on the inside into turn 3. The Frenchman closes up onto the back of the Argentine then. Estevez defends track position on the inside and just holds on to 6th place for now. So nice, clean, fair racing in the mid-pack here.
So the rain's getting a little bit lighter, but we've still got a heavy rain zone coming in there from the south. The wind is blowing a north direction, so it's bringing that rain cell across. So it's not quite done in terms of rain, but already though, some of these guys searching for the water, it seems, and these wet tyres, they've been on since the start of the race. They're going to start to wear somewhat. But if you're Estevez right now, you're in a bit of a tricky situation because you're trying to overtake Paul Jura. But if you do that, you put yourself back into the clutches of the car behind Laboutelet, and we've seen him. He's elbows out all the way as Laboutelet in this race. So definitely one to watch out for. But Estevez needs to try and focus and try and put a car between him and that BMW behind.
So be careful as well. You don't want to squabble too much because look who's going to clear off into the distance. Paul Jura doesn't need a second invitation to build a bit more of a gap over those two drivers, and Estevez there wide on the exit. That could leave him under threat from Laboutelet. Maybe not into these last couple of corners, but perhaps across the timeline and into turn 1 again.
I was going to say, speaking of turning off into the distance, the leaders now are 5 seconds ahead of the rest as Laboutelet dives up the inside of the last corner. Not usually a place to see an overtake there. Up into 6th place goes Laboutelet. So that was a nice move there, but these guys have been sort of bashing and crashing into each other a little bit, so we'll see if the stewards have anything to say about any of the racing. To me, it's all fair racing right now. Great move by Laboutelet, but now the question is, can he make up the time to Paul Jura in front? The gap now about 1.8 seconds, just about out of the slipstream range. It's got to be all power from that BMW, which we know has got plenty of as it bears down on the Mazda in front. But yeah, Medina and Hensei, first and second, 6.5 seconds ahead of Fenton for Mercedes in third. So it's looking good for Ferrari and Porsche right now.
Well, hugely impressive as well for Hensei to just stick it onto the coattails of Medina, not launching any moves, not getting himself into any trouble, just keeping himself there ready to try and pounce. Let's have a look here. Estevez, he just ran a little bit deep, didn't he? And then Laboutelet said, thanks very much. There's a tiny bit of contact out of that penultimate corner, into the final turn. Laboutelet up the inside and through into 6th position. Didn't need a second invitation there. His next target will be trying to close up onto the back of Paul Jura for 5th position. Meanwhile, back at the front, you've got Medina and Hensei still close to one another. This has been the story of the race. It is a little bit closer than it was last time around. So I wonder if Hensei wants to just try and lead the race at this point, maybe.
Might be a mistake for Medina as well. Of course, that gap is now down to only a tenth of a second. And that turn, Hensei makes the mistake, gets onto the silly part of the circuit, recovers it well. But that would have been a nerve-wracking moment there for Benjamin Hensei and Team Porsche. The gap back up now to 6 tenths of a second, much to the delight, I'm sure, of Mohamed Medina in front in that Ferrari. But we're seeing the pace. We're seeing the pace come through now for Hensei and Team Porsche. That's going to be a wake-up call, I think, for Mohamed in front. It's okay, cool, right. This guy is quick behind me now. I need to focus. I can't be making silly mistakes and letting that gap come down again.
I'll tell you what, I can't remember the last time we saw a driver, though, come into the Gran Turismo World Series and just perform as well as Mohamed Medina has done, and also for Benjamin Hensei as well, actually, for that matter. These two have just been parachuted into this season, and it's like they've been here for years.
Yeah, they've done amazing so far, but the race is far from over. And to prove that, here are people squabbling for position in the mid with Romero and Benko. Benko looking up the inside of that Genesis, not going to get a good run off the corner there. Here comes Kylian Drumont in the Subaru trying to recover after a spin earlier on, but again, just hasn't quite got the legs now. Any corner exit, any acceleration zone, just goes backwards. It must be so frustrating, but that is the manufacturer's cup. not all cars have the same strengths in the same places. And there's Grumont, big dive up the inside. Penko there also having contact with Romero in the Genesis, and there's still contact, nearly spinning out. Penko is Grumont. They all seem to somehow get out of the corner, but that was a bit of a mess down there.
That's the thing, is when these cars are driving on the limit, as they are in these conditions, you could push them round with your little finger, basically. They are just on the ragged edge of adhesion.